Welcome to this explainer. If you're an educator, you already know that the landscape of teaching is constantly evolving, right? Well, today, we are going to take a really comprehensive tour of an incredibly powerful website that's specifically designed to empower your instructional practice. We'll navigate through the exact modules and resources available on the platform, and the whole goal here is to help you transform average classrooms into dynamic, high-performing learning environments.
But first, let's just address the elephant in the room. We have all experienced the very real struggle of disengaged students. You know the look, the dreaded blank stares, the heads resting heavy on the desks, maybe that subtle thumb scroll on a hidden smartphone under the table. It's incredibly frustrating. But here's the thing, students might actually really want to engage, but often they just don't know how. Well, stick with me, because throughout this walkthrough, we're going to uncover the systematic solutions to cure this disengagement once and for all.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to walk through the 4 main modules you'll find on the site. First, building a culture of trust. Second, learner-centered contribution strategies. Third, bias awareness and beliefs. And finally, sustained professional learning. Starting right off with Module 1, building a culture of trust. You see, before any innovative teaching strategy can actually work, you absolutely need a foundational, almost invisible layer of trust. This means engaging families and fostering truly authentic relationships. Now, in educational research, we measure impact using an effect size known as Cones D. To put that into perspective, an effect size of 0.4 is basically the hinge point for a standard year's worth of student growth. So, look at this number, a massive 1.28. That represents the effect size of teacher trust in students and their parents. It is a monumental lever. It literally places trust among the highest contributors to student achievement ever measured.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how building trust heavily outranks factors we often think are completely insurmountable. Take socioeconomic status, or SES, which has a negative effect size of 0.53 on student learning. But teacher trust in clients? That's 1.28. This brilliantly proves that establishing deep, authentic relationships can actually counteract the negative effects of poverty. It's an incredibly powerful realization. As educators, we hold a lever strong enough to help all students succeed academically, completely regardless of their background.
But here is the catch, right? Trust doesn't just magically happen by accident. It requires active promotion. School leaders really must enlist supportive and collegial leadership practices to forge that relational trust. Because when principals are approachable, when they treat faculty as equals and create collaborative structures, teachers feel trusted. And then, that trust acts like a ripple effect. It spreads directly outward to engage parents and students in a truly meaningful alliance.
Which brings us to Module 2, Learner-Centered Contribution Strategies.
So how do we actually get students off the sidelines and turn them into active agents in their own learning? Well, the platform outlines 7 specific strategies to shift from a teacher-centered classroom to student-centered engagement. Basically, students are taught how to make personal connections, agree with peers, branch off to new ideas, expand on thoughts, summarize the discussion, play devil's advocate, or respectfully disagree. By giving students this specific framework, we're literally handing them the tools to socially and intellectually dive into the material.
I want you to listen to this powerful reflection from a university instructor who actually implemented these strategies. She said, "If I fail to carve space for such contributions, I may hinder my students' ability to actively partake in their learning process." That is a profound shift in mindset, isn't it? It's not just about what the teacher is broadcasting at the front of the room, it is the teacher's direct responsibility to step back, become a facilitator, and deliberately create the time and the environment for these contributions to happen. And the contrast is absolutely stark when you look at the data. In a lecture-dominated environment, student contribution drops off a cliff. You get those disconnected blank stares we talked about earlier. But when the classroom becomes learner-centered, when the instructor actually pauses and prompts using those 7 strategies, the students step up, they drive the conversation, they critically analyze the content, and they actually become knowledge providers for their peers. It's a total game changer.
Let's move on to Module 3, Bias Awareness and Beliefs.
Shifting classroom dynamics like we just discussed requires some really deep internal work. To guide students to see themselves as capable learners, we kind of have to look in the mirror first. Research clearly shows that teachers' implicit biases and low expectations directly shape the quality of instruction they provide. Let's be honest, if a teacher doesn't truly believe a student can master rigorous content, the instruction inevitably gets watered down. Interrupting these biases isn't just a nice idea, it's an absolutely non-negotiable step in improving instructional quality.
So, the crucial point is that by bringing awareness to these implicit biases, teachers systematically change their beliefs about diverse students. This is where we compare a fixed mindset, believing a student's capability is just static, versus a growth mindset. Elevating our expectations shifts us into a growth mindset, which naturally makes our instruction far more rigorous and aligned with high standards. This internal shift is the exact thing that ultimately narrows the achievement gap.
And that brings us to our final pillar, Module 4, Sustained Professional Learning. And this brilliantly illustrates how schools actually sustain these mindset shifts, maintain trust, and continuously improve over time. They do it through highly structured, ongoing professional development. Instead of just dropping in some external provider for a one-off workshop that everyone forgets by Tuesday, successful programs use distributed leadership. They train emerging instructional leaders right within the building, like your department chairs or mentor teachers. These fellows then go back and lead collaborative learning for their own trusted peers. It is so powerful because teachers are way more likely to try a new practice when they're being guided by someone they already know and trust. On the website, you'll actually find a comprehensive 8-step cycle of learning. What you're seeing right now are the 5 core, job-embedded phases of that broader framework: identifying an area for improvement, designing and leading the sessions, learning the content-specific practices together, applying them directly in the classrooms, and then coming back together to reflect on actual student work. Repeated over time, this collaborative cycle is exactly what ensures the new skills actually stick. Let's move to and see how this builds real, measurable results. After just one single year of engaging in this content-specific fellowship, educators' pedagogical knowledge and practice scores showed a noticeable, statistically significant increase in both English language arts and math. And the data gets even better. When schools sustain this for 2 years, the benefits for student learning are even greater. It just proves that good teachers aren't just born, they are systematically developed. Now, it is important to briefly note the context of these specific results. While this distributed leadership model produced amazing achievement gains, about 80% of the treated schools in this particular study were charter schools. This highlights an interesting point. School autonomy might play a really vital role here. Having the flexibility to adjust schedules, carve out collaboration time, and redefine leadership roles is a huge advantage when you're trying to implement this kind of sustained learning cycle. So we've explored the massive impact of relational trust, the mechanics of learner-centered contributions, the absolute necessity of bias awareness, and the architecture of sustained professional learning. The research is completely clear and the framework is ready to be utilized. So my provocative challenge to you today is this: how will you distribute leadership and intentionally carve out space for learning in your school? I highly encourage you to navigate the rest of this website, explore the amazing resources available in these modules, and start making those shifts. Your students are ready to shine.